What's up, guys? Hope you are having a fantastic Monday evening. Hope it's been a good weekend for you. Hope it's been a good Monday workday for you. So for those of you who are maybe joining for the first time, I want to give a little breakdown of what this is and what this isn't. But before I do that, I want to apologize to you folks who in advance who were on LinkedIn and waiting to join the live. This is the second time that I've had problems getting LinkedIn Live to work. It is unfortunately not super obvious to me how you set up the or you get access to the live stream settings after you set up a live event. So my apologies to you in advance, but if you are here with us on YouTube and Facebook, or even from the AI Employee Club today, then I am happy to have you. So glad to have you here and ready to answer your questions for today. So let me give a quick summary of what it is that we're doing here today. So these sessions are meant for you if you are a small business owner, a solopreneur, or maybe you're a real estate investor or some other kind of investor, and you've got questions about AI, automation, and systems for your business, and you want to know how you can use these. Ideally, I would love to see any practical questions that you have about things that you're running into or problems that you're trying to solve. But I don't want to just limit this to the people who are a little further down the trail. So if you're joining and you just have some general questions about AI or automation, that's totally fine. I want to answer those questions as well. So these sessions are for people who are just getting started, just kind of curious, up to maybe people who are more advanced. They've got their processes dialed in and they are ready to implement these things into their businesses, into their own systems, whatever they're doing, so that they can grow and they can get back their time. So I hope that's helpful to you all. The way I structure these sessions on Monday evenings and most Saturday mornings is I have a form that I put out in the post where you can go fill out that form with any questions that you have. That form is up and available any time of the day, every day of the week. So, if let's say you want to come on the Saturday session and you've got a question, you can go ahead and use that form to submit your questions. I get those questions in live on my side through a spreadsheet that I have connected up to that form. And so when you put those questions, I'm going to see them come in live on my side. I'm going to look at that spreadsheet in between questions and then answer the next question that I have up. So if you are just jumping in here, please go fill out that form if you've got any questions. If you are listening and then you have a question come to mind, just go fill that form out and I will see that come in on my side. So if I can, I will go and I will look at the chats as much as I can, but I may not be able to always respond. So if you're posting stuff in the chat, please, don't worry. Like I'm going to try to look at the chat, but if you do have questions, the form is the best place for those. So, before I do anything else, let me go ahead and put in the link to the form inside of the chats. So that way you have access to that if you're not seeing it on the post wherever you're at. So I'm going to go ahead and put that over in YouTube. And then I'm also going to put this over in, here's the form, the question form. Okay. And let's get this over in Facebook as well. So if you are on YouTube or Facebook and you've got questions, please put that into that form. Okay, and let me also post this in our AI employee club so folks there have access as well. All right. Okay, I think we've got everything set up and ready to go. So we're going to go ahead and take these next several minutes until about 6:30 Central Time. I may go a little over to answer any questions that you have that come in. Let me go ahead and look at the list of questions that we already have for the day. All right. So our question here, this first question is more real estate focused, and this one is from Tyler. Tyler asks, can AI help me analyze deals faster or find motivated sellers before others do? Okay, so Tyler, this is a really good question. It's got a couple of key parts here, which I think are important to note. Okay, so first of all, you ask about analyzing deals faster. So the question I would have for you, if we were sitting down at a table together, would be, what do you mean by analyze a deal? Do you mean like looking at the information of a potential deal or a lead, that is, and evaluating it against your buy box? If that is what you're asking, then I would say absolutely yes, you can. What you could do is you could do something like set up a chat bot that either intakes through like a live chat on your website or wherever you have it. Maybe it's in Facebook Messenger or whatever. It could be analyzing, deals that come in through your email, and then you can give it the parameters that you have for your buy box. So you could say, well, I'm really just looking for 3 2s in Phoenix, Arizona, things like that. Like you could give it all those types of criteria. You could give it certain regions or things like that, certain zip codes, maybe certain price point ranges. And then it could read those things for you and then say yes or no very quickly on those. If your question about analyzing the deal is more like, okay, well, can it help underwrite? I used to say no. And the reason I used to say no to this was because these large language models, these LLMs like ChatGPT or Claude or whatever other one you want to think of, like Gemini, these weren't built to be able to calculate mathematical equations. What they were built to do is to be trained on a large amount of text, and then they are essentially like statistical models where based on that text and that's coming in and based on the input prompt that you put in and all this stuff, like it takes all of that and then it figures out, well, what's the most likely thing that should be said next, and then it crafts your sentences or paragraphs or whatever. And so that doesn't really lend itself to mathematics very well, because mathematics requires that you actually do some real number crunching, right? And so that's why people early days would see situations where, they put in numbers and it looks like it might be kind of doing math, but it's not really. It's really just kind of generating like tokens or text, essentially. So that's why I used to say no. I've shifted my opinion on this a little bit, and that's just because of the newer tools that have become available over the last several months, really. So we have seen new models come out that perform like what's called multi-step reasoning. So you give it, something that you want done, and then what it does is it iterates. So it says, okay, well, let me analyze this, and then let me figure out what the next step is, and let me figure out what the next step is. And so it takes multiple steps to arrive at a final conclusion. And in doing that, they have also added on additional tooling that these AI tools, chatbots, can take advantage of. So, for example, now what I can do is I can create a plug-in tool that allows it to perform mathematical calculations that tells it, oh, okay, well, you can do multiplication with this tool and you can do addition with this tool. And so by giving it the ability to call these coded tools, or to even in some cases write and execute the code itself, I do think it might actually be possible to underwrite these deals. The caveat to that is that you need to make sure that the mathematical formulas that are written are accurate. I would not just say, hey, go figure out how to calculate this deal for me, and then it does the thing under the hood, and you don't really know how that was actually calculated. So what I would do is I would have the mathematical formulas up front and give it to it in the prompt. And then the second step that's really key there is you need to make sure you choose the right model. So you actually need to choose a model, ideally that can do multi-step reasoning, and also that can do these tool calls. Because if it's not being able to do those two things, like, you're going to run into some problems with the math that it calculates. The other thing you could do if you were a programmer like myself is you could actually write the tools that you want the model to call, and then based on your prompt to it, then it could actually run those functions to calculate the thing. So Tyler, that answers the first part of your question there. The second part of your question was, what about finding motivated sellers before other people do? And the answer to that one is yes as well. You need to think about this in multiple parts. One part is that you need to think about this as, okay, well, how do I get the leads in the first place, right? Where, if you are getting the leads from Zillow, then you need to have some way to collect that data. So you could take advantage of AI that can go through and scrape based on certain criteria, or maybe go to other websites, maybe local MLS websites or whatever it is, and pull that data and then put that into your system. And then there's all sorts of other pieces of software out there, like there's PropStream, there's PropWire, I think it's PropWire, DealSauce, there's a bunch of them out there. And so you could use those tools to pull in your leads. And then based on that, you need to filter it out. So you could use AI to filter those things out. I think where AI is going to be most useful for filtering things versus maybe just having a very straightforward, automation, a typical automation, is going to be situations where you're dealing with messy data. You're dealing with something that maybe isn't just a paragraph or something. That becomes very difficult to work with a typical automation. And so AI is really good at being able to pull out all of that data just from all of the text that's jumbled together. And I say jumbled together from a programmer's perspective. What I mean is you write a paragraph with some information, for example, and AI can go through and understand that and pull out the relevant data. And so then based on your buy box, based on your qualifiers, you could say, oh yeah, this is a valid lead or this is invalid. So Tyler, that was a really lengthy explanation, but I hope that was helpful for you. Let me take a look and see what our next question is for the day. So Lisa G says, I want to automate follow-ups with sellers who ghost me. How can I do that with Go High Level? So Lisa, that's going to be something that you can do with the Go High Level automations. And I haven't had a chance to really play a ton with the chatbots. I imagine if you go directly into the chatbots, you can probably also set those up to operate on some kind of cadence. But at the very least, what you could do is you could go into your workflow and you could say, well, if somebody is in this workflow and they haven't responded to me within a certain period of time, then I want to send them a text, or I want to send them an email, or maybe you want to send both. So those are both things that you could do inside of Go High Level. And then if you take advantage of the AI chatbot tooling that is built inside of Go High Level systems, then that becomes, I think, a lot more friendly to people for the most part. Like you could, with your automations, have static messages that you have defined ahead of time. And I think that can be fine and good, especially when you're getting started. But if you want it to be a more human-like experience for the people that you're working with, then I would definitely take advantage of the AI chatbot tooling. It's just gonna come across differently, right? And when somebody responds, it can also respond back to them and keep them engaged. And you can give it criteria and kind of tell it like how to guide the conversation and things like that. So it's a bit more intelligent than, the traditional automation. So Lisa, I hope that answers your question. I know there are some people who are listening, probably a lot of people I know who are in the real estate investing space, who know what Go High Level is, because the Sub 2 community talks a lot about it, because it's a very useful tool for sales and marketing. So if you're a business owner listening in, or a real estate investor, you've never heard of Go High Level, maybe a brief description just to kind of help you understand what that is. Go High Level is a system really meant for sales and marketing type tasks. It's like an all-in-one tool. You can do, it's got like CRM functionality, so you can do emails, texting, you can do phone calls. They have funnels that you can set up, websites you can set up. You can set up AI chatbots, voice AI receptionists. There's so much more that it can do. It's pretty insane. And so it's one of my favorite tools across the board, whether you're doing real estate investing or you're doing some other kind of business. Like in my case, I take payments with it, and I'm able to also send out documents for people to sign. So pretty versatile. If that's something that you guys are interested in, please just let me know. Maybe let me know in the chat, so that way I can see it. I can give you links to get a trial and to sign up if that's something that interests you. So let me go ahead and take a look at our next question that we have here. Let's see here. Okay. Maya, how can I use automation to make sure every new client gets a great onboarding experience? Okay. Oh, Maya, this is really interesting. I've seen some pretty bad onboarding experiences, and I have seen some good ones as well. I would say before you go too far on automation, right out of the gate, I would encourage you to take a step back and really think about your process. And what I mean is you need to think through and maybe document what are the things that happen in order from the time that your client first interacts with you, or maybe first makes the payment, to the time that they're onboarded with your service. So one way that I like to describe this is you should think of your processes. Maybe you call them SOPs, maybe you call them your playbook, whatever it is. I like to think of it first and foremost, I guess, as a checklist. I think that's a really easy way to get things on paper right out of the gate. So you go through your steps and you say, well, what happens, and then what happens, and then what happens, and then what happens. And so then you've got your top level list. And then you go back through your list and you say, okay, well, for that first thing that happens, the what, well, how does that happen? And so under that, you're going to have more bullet points, and you're going to say, okay, well, so how does that happen? We're going to say what happens, then what happens, then what happens to make that how. And then we keep doing that, and we go a couple levels deep, and really you shouldn't probably get more than, I would say, 3 levels deep or so. If you start getting deeper than that, you might need to like regroup and move things around, but that kind of gives you like your initial checklist. And I think that's a good way to initially start with your processes. If you have a more complex process where you have multiple things going on simultaneously, then what you might need to do is actually sit down and create like I think it's called a business process flow diagram, where you show how is the customer moving through the process, and what are the different, it shows like what are the different departments that you're going through for each of those steps. You can show things that are happening simultaneously. Like it makes it much easier to understand visually. And so that would be the next step that I would take. And so the reason I say this, instead of just reaching for the automation, is that the automation is really just the delegation piece of your business. So when you have your business, I think of a business as a system. It is a system full of processes, full of people and technologies, right? You know, it's a system of systems. And so when you have a set of things that you have to do, that's your processes, and you can delegate the tasks in those processes to a person, or you can delegate them to a machine, like an automation. And so that's more of the how it gets done, if that makes sense. But if your onboarding experience process isn't kind of dialed in first, like it might be kind of hard to figure out how to create an automation for it. Now, when you're figuring out your processes, you might say, well, like this part really would feel easier, for example, if somebody were to be able to just chat with a chat bot or something like that, you know, like, because it's faster feedback and then moves them through the steps quicker. So as you're documenting those things, I think some of those things will naturally arise. But if it's not immediately evident to you what automation to use after you've documented those things, then that's where I would say then you need to go find somebody who has some technical experience that can review those processes and then say, oh, okay, well, this is where we can add this piece, and this is where we can add this piece. And it may even be helpful to bring somebody with some technical skill into that conversation as you're documenting your processes. Because they'll be able to ask questions and ask you, well, why are you doing it this way versus this way, and things like that. So hopefully that answers your question, Maya. I would just be careful to always be careful to reach immediately for AI and automation right out of the gate. I say focus on processes first, then if it makes sense to delegate, then reach for automation, and then if it really makes sense as an AI delegation versus a typical automation, then reach for AI. So you follow a couple steps there, so that way you don't shoot yourself in the foot and try to shoehorn in a solution that doesn't make sense. Okay, let's move on. Let me check our time here. We're getting close to our time, so we probably only have time for about one more question for the day. So let me see. Actually, before I look at our questions, I just want to see if there's anything here in our chats that oh, these poor folks on LinkedIn. I forgot to post the video link. My apologies, guys. LinkedIn is a bit of an issue for me, unfortunately. So let me look here at YouTube. Okay, I don't see anything in our chat, so let me go on to our last question for the day. So let's see here. Okay, this is a really good one from Felicia. Felicia asks, what's the difference between automating with Go High Level versus using something like Zapier? Okay, I love this question. So the difference between automating with Go High Level versus a tool like Zapier is going to be that the tools that are the automation workflows that are built into Go High Level are very specific to Go High Level. They do have a few tools that let you reach out to external systems. Like you can set it up to send a web request to another server or service that you have on another server, and then kick that process off. And you can also set it up to receive notifications from other services. And the thing is, though, that those automations in Go High Level, they are really, really mostly built to operate on data and information inside of your Go High Level system. So it's not really, you can use it to call other services, but it's really Go High Level centric, if that makes sense. A tool like Zapier is going to be more like a separate tool that brings a bunch of different platforms and systems together, so that way you can integrate them together. So when you build out your workflow automations in something like Zapier or Make.com or N8N, that's going to be more like, okay, well, we're pulling from, Google Sheets, and we're pulling from maybe OpenAI's, like chatbots, and maybe we're pulling from some information from Go High Level, and maybe we're pulling some information from MailChimp, and we're taking all these different systems, and then we're creating some kind of like streamlined automation that takes a bunch of steps between a bunch of different integrated systems, and then boom, you're done. And so something like Zapier or Make or N8N is going to be really, really good as a no-code solution, similar to Go High Level, but it's going to be good for like taking all of these different pieces and kind of putting them together. It's also going to be really good for situations where, let's say, you have an automation that you need, and maybe a system makes it available in their API. Like you could create, you could interact with, I think Go High Level is a good example here, because as much as I love all the automations inside Go High Level, sometimes they just don't have things that I really need, that are easily streamlined. They are missing some certain components in their workflow automations. So, in that case, what I could do is I could say, well, I still have access to all this different data in Go High Level. And so what I can do is in something like Zapier or Make or N8N, I could just access the data and then do something with that data, and then call something else, maybe update things, or maybe kick off a new thing. Or maybe it's, based on some data from Go High Level, I go kick off this other thing in some other system somewhere else. So you could do things like that with Zapier, with Make.com, with N8N, with all these no-code tools. You could do a similar thing if you programmed it yourself. It's just that those tools are made to be no-code solutions, and so might be a little bit more friendly to folks who don't want to learn a whole programming language, if that makes sense. Okay, hopefully that answers your question, Felicia. We are at time for the day, so I'm going to go ahead and bring things to a close here. Before I do, what I want to call out is, if this was helpful to you and you want more of these live Q&As. The good news is that I am going to be continuing to host these every Monday evening for the foreseeable future, from 6 to 6:30 Central Time, and as much as I can on Saturday mornings from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Central Time. And so if that's something that you want to be participating in regularly, then you can just watch my personal channels for those timeframes. Or if you want to get reminders in your email about upcoming Q&As, you can go to the QR code that I have on the screen. My apologies to the folks on Facebook. I was having problems getting my live stream software connecting properly today. So what I'll do for you folks is I will share. Let me grab the link here, and I'm going to share the link with all of you folks inside of the chats, so that way you have access to those things. And then I want to also call out, while I'm grabbing this link, I also just want to call out, if you really found this valuable, but you want to get more in-depth help, you want to go into more focused periods of time where I answer more of your questions in depth for your business, maybe you need a bit more of a private environment for those types of things, then the good news is that I have a solution for you as well. I have an online community that I call the AI Employee Club. It is meant for professionals, small business owners, solopreneurs, investors who want to know how to implement things like AI, automation, and systems in their business to help them get back their time and grow. And so if that's something that you need, then you can join the AI Employee Club. I will include that link in our chats as well. So here's the first link. Here's the link. This is going in Facebook right now for the email reminders. And then let me put this in YouTube as well. Here's the link for the email reminders. And I'm going to also go ahead and grab the link for the AI Employee Club. Again, if this is something that would be helpful to you, then you are welcome to join anytime. The AI Employee Club has a couple of other benefits as well. Like, we have a recording inside of the AI Employee Club of a one-day challenge that we recently did where we taught people how to set up voice AI phone receptionists from scratch and go high level. We worked with Rebecca, who had never done anything like this before. And so she'd never even touched a go high level system before. And so we went in from scratch, set up multiple systems for her, or multiple AI agents for her, and set up like an IVR phone system. And so that was really good. The people who joined had some good questions as well. And so it was just a really nice interactive time. That recording is inside the AI Employee Club. And so when you join, you get immediate access to that one-day challenge. If you stick around long enough as well, we're going to be doing more of these types of challenges in the future. You'll get access to those challenges included in the price of the AI Employee Club. So you'll get admission to those, you'll get the recordings, you're going to get access to additional resources that we have inside of the community as time goes on. And you're going to also get the extended live Q&As. So after this 30 minutes that we do on Mondays and Saturdays, we take another at least hour to answer additional questions to go in depth. And also we cover some other things. Like, so if there's no additional questions today, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be looking at the recent updates in Go High Level that allow you to integrate AI agents with their systems. And so we're going to look at how to set that up with like Claude Desktop today, as long as there's no other questions that we need to go in depth on. So anyways, there's all that stuff. There's the community chat. There's all that inside of the AI Employee Club. So if that's something that would be valuable to you, then you can sign up anytime. The limited time offer that I had up last week is no longer in effect. So right now you would be joining for the full price. Okay, y'all, I think that's going to be it for today. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you for your questions. I hope it was helpful to everyone who came. I look forward to our next session. I am planning to do it on Saturday, as long as nothing else comes up. Otherwise, I will see you next Monday. All right. Thank you as always, and take it easy.